What comes next? We talked about those first few things you need to do with your realtor, and now you get into the negotiation.
Absolutely.
How does that look? That I feel is probably the most intimidating part for most buyers.
It's very intense. And so what I tell my buyers right now, and even my sellers, is the fact that my language, especially in this market, is dictated by the market. So I myself am not an aggressive realtor, but the language that we have to use currently is very aggressive. So when you get into negotiations, the biggest thing that we tell our buyers and our sellers is the fact that it's not personal. You can't take these negotiations as personal. It's about a business transaction, and it's always hard, especially I love working with my first-time home buyers, and they fall in love with the way the home looks and feels and its location, and yet the negotiations are the start of that process, and they can get a little intense for sure.
Let's talk about what you need. Do you need financing going into that negotiation already?
You always should know your numbers, because there's nothing more frustrating than being a buyer, falling in love with the home, putting in an offer, winning that offer, and then having your financing fall apart. And so depending on where the offer is at, is the fact that is there more than one offer, etc. So you may have to add a financing clause or you may not, and that's a risk that you have to weigh definitely in today's market.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the risks in that contract and the negotiation. Do you have to put some things out on the line in order to get what you want?
Okay, so let's, Annette, we're sitting here and we're buying 123 Main Street. We need to sit down and really look at all the different options. So one, normally we add 3 clauses. We add a finance clause, we add an inspection clause, and we add an insurance clause. Okay. And those are the 3 general statements that we add right at the get-go. Having said that, if we are going into multiple, and that means multiple offers on a property, is the fact now we have to adjust our agreement in a way that maybe outweighs someone else's.
Okay.
And so we talked about closing in the last segment, but also have you done a pre-inspection? We'll talk about that further.
Yeah.
Have you already done your inspection? Do you know that your financing is so good that the fact that you can not put in a finance clause? Now there are risks not putting in a finance clause because the fact is that then it literally puts the legal weight on you in the fact that you have already fulfilled the fact that you can buy this home.
And then can you put yourself in a precarious position if you can't in the end? If you've signed that you can and then you can't, can you be penalized in some way financially?
Absolutely. You could actually land yourself in court.
Oh, wow.
And so it's really important to really know your numbers and know your comfort level, because when we are negotiating, it's about the closing date, as we mentioned. It's about the numbers and it's about what you put on that piece of paper. And so when you put in an offer, if you know that your financing is good, if you know that the inspection has either been done or the fact that it might be a condo and everything's included anyway, maybe you can waive that inspection and you're comfortable with it.
Okay.
And so there's different avenues when you're negotiating how to attack that, how to win the property.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about the inspection coming
Absolutely.
up because that's an important part for any kind of dwelling that you're buying. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up.